Welcome back. Thanks for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. So, unfortunately, I am recording a new beginning because the first 4.5, 5 minutes of this video, I shared really only, I think, 4 or 5 clips that were 10, 15 seconds long at most, just to show some things from the game tonight. And then when I went through all editing and did the uploading and all of that, YouTube said, and again, this was off Twitter like I usually do, and I gave a lot of analysis and feedback. I didn't just run the clips, but YouTube said it was copyright protected content that I was using, so I had to edit out the first 5 minutes or so. Unfortunately, I'll go back and listen to it again and see if there's anything that I said that I really wanted to address that I don't address later in the video, and do another video tomorrow if necessary. But other than that, I'm just adding this new intro to it, and then we're just going to dig right into the game. And yeah, let's get going.
So let's dig in a little more to the game. First, Caitlin Clark is a stat sheet stuffer. I think we're starting to figure that out. 18 points, career high 12 rebounds to go along with 6 assists. Should have been more. I think there were some missed opportunities with some easy shots that were missed. There were a couple of I thought were good passes that weren't handled. She also had 4 steals, 18 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals. If that blatant hack of a foul on the fast break with about 3.5 minutes to go in the game had been called, we all know she would have hit both free throws. That would have given her 20 points, which of course would have given her her sixth 25-5 game. So maybe all the conspiracy theorists can tell me how that they kept her from that 20 there. But look, the Fever have a big three. That's what I'm starting to think. If they start gelling, if Mitchell starts passing to Caitlin Clark, if they start running plays and the screens get better, the Fever are looking at a big three, and they could have a really, really good offense. The offense looked great overall tonight. Definitely still some issues. I think there were a lack of plays overall, but there was some better stuff to them. We'll get to that. Specifically for Caitlin, although there were some, there was overall better movement of the players off the ball and better ball movement. When they started getting that movement and they were going through the progression of the offense when plays were called and they were giving up the ball, which was great. The offense was incredibly efficient. Again, I think they left some points in the layups there, but overall, making more layups and finishing more difficult layups. They're also distributing the ball better. Boston had 22 points on only 11 shots. Mitchell, 22 points on only 11 shots. Caitlin Clark, 18 points on only 12 shots. Caitlin also had 12. Like I said, yes, 12 rebounds to go with. Again, 6 assists. That should have been more. 4 steals. She also had that when it was a tie game, those 5 points in 14 seconds. The downside of that, of course, is that it was still a game until the end because their team defense is it's just awful. It really, really is. And I got to start digging out some clips for the defense and try and dig into that more because when I pay attention to players individually, I don't think it's an effort thing, but the Mystics were able to get so many wide open threes. I don't know if the rotation is not good in terms of what the coaching staff wants, or it's just the players are slow to react and they're not reading the offense well, and so they're slow in their rotation. But their defensive rotation is not good. The Mystics had way too many open looks from three, and the big problem is this is a nice run that the Fever are on, but this defense is not going to win them games against the better teams in the league, such as the Liberty and the Sun and even the Aces. The Aces are struggling, but it's basically the same. They went 34-6 last year, and I know they've had some injuries, but Gray will be back at some point, I'm sure. So that team's going to start playing better. And against those better teams, the offense is not going to be as productive. I mean, that was ridiculous tonight. That the efficiency of the big three, absolutely crazy. Combined, they had 62 points on only 34 shots. Boston was 8 for 11. Mitchell was 8 for 11. Clark was 6 for 12. combined, they were 7 of 12 from three, with Boston even hitting the only three that she took. So that was fantastic. And to Boston's three, this is why I said I will also praise the offense. I don't think there was enough of it, but there was more, and there was some nice stuff that I saw on Boston's three. One of what I thought were two out offensive sets, I guess, that stood out to me. One was the one that ended up with Boston hitting that three, and then there was one for a Caitlin three as well, where Caitlin gave it up to Boston, went off the ball. Boston gave it to Wheeler, and then it got back to Caitlin for a huge three. And like I said, I will praise when I think praise is deserved, even if I'm not overall impressed with the player. And I am impressed that Wheeler gave that ball back to Caitlin because it was a multi-pass play, and Wheeler could have gone away while Caitlin's going off the ball and coming off that screen. Wheeler could have gone away from her, but she didn't. She waited, she held, she gave it back, and it was a big three in that game. Again, they're making more layups. I think the finishing overall at the rim was much better than it was early in the season. I still think they left a few out there. I still think there were a few easy layups that they needed to drop. I think they dropped a few passes they should have caught, and I'm not saying they were easy, but again, those are the shots and the passes that need to happen if they're going to compete with teams like the Liberty and the Sun. So okay, so I'm not trying to be picky. No one's ever going to be perfect. But again, those are the difference plays. Those are the difference plays between losing to or beating the better teams in the league. You can get away with it against the teams that you should beat, against the teams that maybe you have more talent than. And look, I got to talk about Caitlin's defense briefly. Again, 4 steals tonight. She's really smart. We talked about her basketball IQ, but that also goes defensively. She's really good off the ball. I think her effort is there on the ball. This is not a matter of a player who thinks she's just an offensive player. But for me, the standout thing I see, which is why she struggles 1v1 and looks slow, is because her defensive stance is terrible. And I cannot believe it's never been fixed. Call me, Caitlin. I will fix your defensive stance. Okay. You're not bent at the knees enough. You're bent over too much at the waist. It's the kind of defensive stance you will see a lot of times off the ball because it's easier on the player and you don't want to waste that energy if you're off the ball. And I get that. Maybe you're opposite side of the court and you're kind of know like, okay, I've got my defender out there, but I've got to pay attention to this, and you're not defending the ball. But when you're defending the ball, you cannot have that defensive stance. She's too upright in terms of her knee bend, and she's too bent over at the waist instead of being a little more in a squat. Not real low because then you get slow as well. But it's just not a good defensive stance, and I think that's what makes her slow in 1v1. That's partially maybe she doesn't know, but it's also very much a strength issue. You see that a lot with athletes. You see it in soccer players too that don't get low enough and don't stay there. It's because they don't have the strength to do it. So give me a call, Caitlin. It's what I do. I will work on that with you. Okay. We're going to make you into a great 1v1 defender. I thought the officiating overall was not that good. And oddly, other than one play, it wasn't because, or two, I guess, it wasn't because they let too much go, that the game was too physical, but because they called too many fouls that simply weren't. Right? I mean, there were like the one on Boston when she's in the paint and they're trying to get the ball into her, like that was just really weird. Even on the challenge at the end, I think Caitlin was fouled 3 times before that. That's one of the ones where they let go. Caitlin was fouled like 3 times before that, before they finally called it. And then the one they called was a little iffy. It was weird. And then the one that was obvious that they didn't call, and that was Caitlin, who, by the way, showed a lot of speed that people think she doesn't have. Caitlin on the fast break going in for the layup that was absolutely clobbered, hacked across the arms with about 3.5 minutes left and no call. That was just really poor officiating. Which, by the way, we all know she would have made both free throws. That would have given her 20 points. I thought Melissa Smith started out really well. She had a nice entry pass to Boston, which I mean, that was a high skill pass. I don't know if it was the lob pass over the defense. right? Not your typical entry pass where Boston is fronting the player. That was really nice. And then I don't know if she got hurt. There was a play where it looked like maybe she got hit in the face. She was grabbing her face to kind of bother her, and then she went into the locker room not long after that, but the announcers never said a thing about it. So I don't know. I'm just sort of guessing from what I saw. Overall, again, going back to playing better teams, they're going to still need to improve on their picks. They let a lot go with the picks. They're not necessarily well established. I did point out that one, Melissa Smith, where she at least was solid in there long enough that she made the defender go underneath her, which allowed Caitlin to nail that long three. Wallace was not good tonight. Wheeler may have gotten her starting job back. There were too many wide open missed threes early. Wallace, Hull, and Samuelson combined 0 for 7 from three. That can't happen. I mean, that's why those players are in there to take advantage of collapsing defenses that are paying either too much attention to Boston when she gets rolling or paying too much attention to Clark, especially. And then players like Wallace, Hull, and Samuelson get wide open looks. They've got to nail those. They have to knock them down. They have to do it with consistency. I'm not saying they're always going to shoot, 40%, but they can't be 0 for 7, you know. And look, I'm not sold on Wheeler, Mitchell, and Clark out there together. I don't think it's been good this season. I thought it was not good most of the game. But again, being fair, it was really, really good in the fourth quarter. And it was a big part of the reason they did not give up the lead and they were able to finish this game out and get the win. So we'll probably see more of it. And another quick shout out to Wheeler. She made a tough jumper with a hand in her face in a key moment. And it was one of those, you go, oh, oh, great shot. If you've ever coached or, you're just cheering on them the sidelines, I guess, or in the stands, you know what I'm talking about. But overall, great win. Two really solid, well, three, I guess, at this point, really solid games in a row. Now they have five on the road, so we're going to see how that goes. Um, but again, what, five of their last seven, three in a row. They've been much better since they struggled through that. What was it, 11 games in 20, 11 games in 20 days? And I'm starting to see some things I like more between the players. Um, they, there were there were two plays that stand out for me with Mitchell that she should have gotten given up the ball. But you know what? When you've got a player like that, is that explosive and is a scorer, I'm okay with that. Like I really didn't have a problem with any of the players tonight because no one's going to play a perfect game. You'll have mistakes, but in the context of the whole game, I thought the team looked really, really good offensively. Defensively, they need a lot of work, a lot of work. I'm going to leave it there because I've been rattling on for a while. I really appreciate you listening. For any of the people that are still listening at the end, please let me know in your comments below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What did I miss completely that you noticed that you said, hey, what about this? What about this player? Did you think this was good or bad? Let me know. If you're enjoying these videos, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. You will know all the good stuff you hear from YouTubers all the time. And I will talk to you later.